while I have everyone's attention still, I just want to show you one other idea from another one of our customers and get your feedback on this too, Tom. The Rockaway Fridays with the Wave, what they do is basically have this YouTube episode every week where he sits down in front of the camera. He actually had me on it for a brief period last week. But he sits down in using GoToWebinar, talks to the screen, and basically reads through top stories so he can share his screen at the same time, and show like he's really about promoting the print edition. So he shows a lot of the e-edition on this and just talks about articles. It's way more casual than your format, I would say that. And it's a live thing, so what are your thoughts on doing something like this? Just like one take, all straight through, even if you mess up, just keep going.
I'm probably too much of a perfectionist to try that or to pull it off effectively, but I think it's great. I do think the casual approach is a good one, because especially on social media, I mean, or if you're doing this or Facebook Live,
right.
People don't want a super like stilted, presentation. So I think they appreciate that casual nature of it.
Right.
Facebook Live is something I've thought about doing as just another way to generate things, and this looks like it's very similar if he's doing it live. But I think it's all about just reaching readers and viewers and listeners however you can and however they want to be reached.
Right.
To me, like, you don't want to spend all your time trying to be everything to everyone, but if there's something that you feel like you can do effectively that is going to work to reach people differently, I say do it. Try it, see how it goes, and then everybody has to kind of set their own parameters of what the expectations are. Like I said, if I was only getting 10 listeners a day, at some point I would probably say this is not worth my 45 minutes. I'm going to try something different. But
for sure,
if you get a core group of people who are interested in it and keep coming back, then I think it's something you can monetize and fits into your schedule.
Yes, that's exactly right. It's about the audience, and even if it's relatively small, I mean, you could call hundreds of people small. I wouldn't call that small, but like whatever you have tuning in every week, then you're talking to. It's more like one-to-one. It changes the whole publishing experience. In my view, that's how, like, when we even have our customer newsletter, we have the same people that open that every week, and it's just like, it's really nice to see that loyalty. And like what we're kind of thinking about for this is if we could get that participation to the next level where they're not just watching, but they're actually asking questions of the editor, of the publisher in real time. That's where I really want to get him, and he wants to go there too, but we're stepping into it. So basically, this is a pre-recorded thing right now. It's not actually live, but he does do it in one take just because that's how he's always done it. So how do you think that would go for you? Like if you did something like that where you opened up, only to people that have donated or something, like kind of create a new almost subscription product where you could join Tom once a week or whatever, and like in this format. Like, how do you think that would go in terms of like people asking questions?
Yeah, I like the idea a lot. In fact, the last couple of months I've been trying to think about how to, can I do a Facebook Live on every Friday afternoon for an hour? Just kind of like you open it up. People have questions. Maybe I talk a little bit about some of the articles we've posted in the last week, some other things we're looking forward to doing next week. I think it's important that people hear from us in spoken word because, and us, I mean journalists in general, because they don't get to do that. And I think there's obviously a lot of distrust of the media. And so, people don't understand the process that goes into reporting an article or just any number of things that I almost feel like you could almost kind of teach like a journalism 101 course once a week and just go through the basics of how you come up with what it is that you're covering and all of that. And I think that breeds or would breed a sense of trust, from some people who maybe wouldn't trust you otherwise or just don't understand the process. I think a lot of times we sort of assume that people understand the process, but they don't.
Right.
And why would they? Because they've never been through it themselves,
Right, right. Very true. I did not expect you to go there, but now that I think about it, that's exactly what I love about it. And that's why, I've been doing so much more, just like with our company with video, just like increasing the transparency as much as possible, and just like showing them, how we do this. It creates a whole new level of trust there. So yeah, journalists could definitely benefit from that. So yeah, I think if you wanted to do this, Facebook Live would be awesome. There's another company, the Wilson County News, that we talked about. We talked to them last week. They do Facebook Live every week. They're very consistent with it, and they do a little bit of that, talking about their process. Well, they talk about the stories in the paper, but also the process for gathering information. They kind of had a dedicated episode for that. So yeah, okay, very cool. I just kind of wanted to go over this program. So I pretty much explained it. Friday morning review. They're highlighting the print edition in this video. The reason I'm bringing this up, I mean, it's primarily a video format, but now what's possible, of course, like I talked about earlier, when you create video, you can also create a podcast in the process. So that's what they're doing. Sometimes they'll interview local election candidates, advertiser interviews. I think if we talk to the people on here, I believe it was Nick, who does a 40-minute weekly podcast. He probably does more of the interview type format. Now, is that something that you do at all on Henrico News Minute, or that's something you do elsewhere?
Yeah, I've not done it on the News Minute. But we have had a couple other podcasts that are sort of on hold right now because our part-time employee who's been doing them has some medical issues in her family she's taking care of. But she had been doing a podcast. It was sort of like a 15-minute conversation with we started it initially where she was talking to different nonprofit heads in our county. 15-minute conversation just for people to get to know whoever, newsmaker or nonprofit, business owner, whatever. And then she had another podcast that was a weekly that she would do a sort of a half an hour interview. And those are things that's kind of the direction that I thought I would head initially. But then I realized for me, that was going to be too time consuming to try to set up, one big interview every week or have to edit it a bunch of different ways. I settled on the News Minute idea because it was something quicker that I could handle, that it was going to be just part of my regular routine without a whole lot of extra effort. But I think if you're in a position to do a longer one, I think it makes sense to take, whatever your top story of the week was and go in depth with it and talk to whoever you interviewed in that article, let people hear it. I love that multimedia aspect. You want people to read the story and then see a video about it or hear the people talking in their own words. That's
for sure. Value. That's true. Yeah, there's a lot to that. I think that when they're doing the thing is, when you have a canned process that works for you, that's what you should go for. That's what's most important. So I think you've got the process down and you've got this audience. You could at any time release an hour-long interview with a local, like a whole series of candidates or something like that. You interview, like, there's no reason that it has to be a minute every week. You could have like a special edition, but the key is you've got the audience there. So,
that's right.
Advertiser interviews, that's just another idea. That's something that we're seeing at Wilson County News, but I think they're going to do it more with the Wave because, if you are using GoToWebinar or GoToMeeting or Zoom, I don't think you can do it with Facebook Live. But these other teleconferencing platforms, they can be at their office, they could still be at the restaurant, they could even show people what they're doing at the restaurant, show some like dishes, whatever they want to advertise, they can just do it from their office. They don't need to come in and see you. And I think that's what they did with the candidates interview last week on the Wave. And then we just talked about, if you have any kind of paid model, inviting subscribers to join as attendees. Okay, I think we pretty much ran out of time, so we're good. That's pretty much all I wanted to hit on. Anything else you want to bring up, Tom, today on podcasting and just getting started? Any advice you have?
Yeah, I mean, I just think if it's something that you're interested in, take the time to go for it. Like I said, I got started by just buying like a $60 microphone that plugs, USB plug in to my Mac. That's all I needed, to get going. And, you can spend a lot more money than that, but I don't think you need to.
Right.
Just kind of figure out what works within your schedule, and make it what you want it to be. I don't think, if you don't want to do a daily podcast, then don't. If you don't want to do a weekly one, then don't. It needs to be something that you enjoy doing and that you feel passionate about doing, or else you're not going to want to keep doing it. So
Right.
that would be my advice. Just, give it a shot. If it doesn't work out for whatever reason, at least but
Right.
but I'd say go for it.
Right on. Yeah, man. Sounds good. I hope everyone does some experimenting and at least opens up GarageBand or whatever video or audio editor you have.